It's the glasses.
Alright, we're live.
We are live.
Parry Talks. Welcome back. This is the first episode of the second chapter, and I'm not at the pub, not at the Lord Gladstone Hotel. It's pretty obvious. Shout out to coronavirus. It doesn't make anything easy, but we found a way at Parry Talks to overcome absolutely anything and everything. So we're going to be doing a couple more on Zoom, for the foreseeable future. And the best thing about it is that we can go across the country and get some opinions from across the country instead of our little Sydney bubble. So I'm trying to maximize that as much as possible going over the next, 4 or 5 episodes. So to kick it all off, I should say, I've got my man over here, Cassettes for Kids. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries. I've got to ask it the question. And I think it's impossible.
The question.
I think it's impossible to have any sort of conversation in today's climate without asking about the old COVID-19. But how is it treating you? What have you been doing? How do you keep busy? How is Cassettes for Kids in the corona environment?
Geez. I've been fixing up a lot of stuff in my studio. I've been making a live set, which I've been putting off for probably the last year. So, I mean, it's given me a bit of time to actually do stuff that I've just been putting off, which has been really nice. But I mean, apart from that, it's boring as hell. I don't have any work or like music work. I can't play anywhere, which is pretty rubbish. But I mean, people got a lot worse right now.
Exactly. And I think that's what's been trying to keep, that's how I've stayed motivated, really. It's like, how can I complain? I work in media and run a podcast, and that's we still exist, and music as an art form is still moving people. Whereas some people have literally zero, and just putting all that back into perspective is so important, I think, to keep our motivation levels, somewhat calm.
Yeah, I think the very first thing, when I found out about it all, I was like, oh God, this really sucks for me. This is so bad. How am I going to get through this? Everyone else has it so good. I've got it so bad. Music's not supported. And I was like, man, I've actually got it so good here. In Australia, we've actually got such a sweet deal with this whole thing. There's a few people who have slipped through the gaps, unfortunately. But I mean, for the most part, we are doing sweet.
Yeah, I was looking at the American numbers, and I was like, brother, we're lucky we have the biggest ocean in the world just surrounding us entirely, just swallowing us in, which is beautiful. But
nature's greatest defense, water.
Stay hydrated.
I've got some cat milk here. Does that help?
Chances.
It's quite warm.
Yeah, and we have to go into it. If anyone that follows your social medias knows that your house is not just a house or a mini studio, you are the king of gear, you could say.
Music gear, yeah.
Yeah, I know, that's what I meant. Yeah, so you do have quite the expansive, home setup. How did you get into collecting gear and becoming a gearhead and collecting it properly?
Well, I was just trying to procrastinate from making my own music, so I thought I could just fill my time with being a gearhead. I thought that'd be better than just actually doing something with my music. So I dusted a lot. I update all the software very regularly, but apart from that, no music gets made really. Which I sometimes feel actually happens. I mean, I'm obviously joking, but sometimes you just I spend all my, instead of looking for new music, I'm like, I need to get a controller that does this really specific thing, because then at that exact moment,
then I'll be able to execute.
It's gonna get better. Yeah, then everything will be sweet, and then you get that, and you're like, oh, but I didn't even think that maybe I want this other thing that does this other really specific thing, and it's only $1,500. So maybe I just put it on Afterpay, and but all the stuff that all the stuff that I have now is very functional. It's all very high quality, and now I'm not sort of like there's no like grass is always greener sort of
Yeah.
thing. There's a few little bits and pieces I need, but like, need.
There it
Oh
is.
God, I can't believe I said that. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, it's a mint little studio,
Yeah.
aka like one side of my room.
Let's talk about as well, like now that we're here, I have to bring it up. Everyone that's afterpaying stuff pre-coronavirus, and then all of a sudden everyone's out of work with all these big afterpay debts. Unlucky to you.
I actually just paid my off.
I warned
goodness.
everybody that is on afterpay before this happened, just being like, what if something happens and you lose your job and you have to pay for all this stuff? I was like, no, it's cool.
You got 6 months, baby. And it's
What
only
could
20%
change
interest
in
after
6
that.
months? Exactly.
Nothing, of course. And the thing is, it's like, it's 20%. It's not off 20% off like what you already owe. It's 20% off the original purchase price.
Yeah.
So even if you've got like $4 to go, like your original purchase was $1,000, you're getting charged 20% of $1,000.
You sound like someone. You sound like someone that's entered the pitfalls of afterpay.
Oh, I know the slippery slope intimately.
On a more serious note, though, say for instance, I was big into producing, and I really wanted to take a step up a notch instead of using like a little keyboard and my laptop. What do you reckon some like ideal starter pieces of like the most versatile kit that you could get are?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, you can either get a drum machine like a TR-8S from Roland. That'd be a mean piece of kit. Or you can get yourself the Korg Mini Log XD. These are both like under $1,000, and they're like, they'll set you straight. They're like high quality pieces of gear. The Mini Log XD is actually so nice as a synth. It's 4 voices, so play 4 notes at a time. It's got like a really nice warm filter. My boy James Pepper, he bought one after I bought the original Korg Mini Log, and I've never had so much gear guilt in my life because like it just didn't sound as good. I hated it. He put up all these videos about it. I'm like, goddamn bastard! It just sounds so much better. Every sound is just while I'm playing like with a toy.
Yeah.
Sucked.
I was about to ask, do you and James Pepper just have bloody gear offs? See whoever can, just one up each other constantly.
Definitely winning.
Good. I hope he's listening.
Oh yeah.
He definitely will.
Tag him.
I'll cut this out.
Hey dude,
and clickbait the headline.
Out on you.
You suck. Your kid sucks.
Yeah. Start a rivalry.
I think there's one already there, mate.
Oh yeah. Oh, I haven't heard about it. Did you hear that from him?
I heard it from anyway. I've put to the just a change of pace. I put to my friends and my followers on Parry Talks. If anyone wanted to ask you, send in any questions. And I reckon I got about 20 questions, which is a big showing. And I reckon about 19 of them were just pitch related questions, which probably was like a big highlight for you.
Yeah, what a way to finish things off.
Things like funniest roguest thing you witnessed at pitch by Oscar and my mate Sam Hockula were just like, why was your set at pitch so darn good? But
Thanks,
on a more reflective note, I unfortunately couldn't make it to pitch due to work commitments. But I re-listened to that mix and I watched everybody's story. And I think the most storied moment from the entire festival was you playing that Toxic remix. So like talk us through finding that track, and like, is it hard to convince yourself to play like a big crowd pleaser like that? Or is that something that's pretty easy for you?
Okay, so the first part of that was, how did I find that? I found that a few days before the gig. It was just on the Facebook group Our House. I think someone was like, "Oh, this is a banger." I'm like, I listened to it. I listened to it on my phone, and I'm like, sounds pretty boring. And then like I showed my girlfriend, and she's like, "This is fucking sick." Got my headphones out now, like I actually hear like the sub bass in it. I'm like, oh my god, do I actually do this? Do I do this? Britney Spears at fucking pitch festival? Like I know every chin stroker is going to be like ripping their face off, like, can't believe he did this. I can't believe you. But it was garagey, and I was playing a bunch of garage. I love garage, so I was like, it suits. What was the other part of the question?
Is it, as in, you pretty much already answered it. Like, is it hard to convince yourself to play something a bit more crowd pleasing like that? Is it something consistent for you now? Or?
I always try to throw in stuff like that because I think it's just like at the end of the day, it's just like I've had a few people message me and be like, "Oh, come on, man! Like you can't be playing that sort of shit. Like you've got better tunes." But I'm like, it's just a bit of fun. Like some people just take it so seriously, and I mean, I feel like I'm playing like crowd pleaser after crowd pleaser. I usually chuck in like one or two just as because there's people who don't absolutely adore and obsess about dance music, and you kind of want to bring everyone into the vibe. So if you've got like something that's a bit recognizable, just as like a little stab to be like, hey, everyone, this is fun. Everyone can enjoy this song, and then you move on. And I think it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's becoming a bit of, and like the thing about it, I don't know if we've already spoken about this, but in the dance world, there are so many like chin strokers. It's probably like one of the most chin stroker sort of cultures. It's sort of the world that we operate in, I think, I'd argue.
Yeah.
And seeing like these people that on a day-to-day basis would never come close to listening with anything over 1 million streams absolutely lose their minds at pitch over a Britney Spears memory is absolutely brilliant. So I think it's so important. I had a really cool chat to DJ Boring about this sort of thing, and he said that
I read that.
he really wanted to play Swedish House Mafia in his in his like Australian boiler room. So like with all these eyes watching, just dropping like Swedish House Mafia.
Dude, I actually messaged someone. I messaged Arthur about that, like my agent, and I was like, dude, the Swedish House Mafia song is so dope. I don't know if I can pull it off though. That was
Miami to
yeah. No lyrics. The dub version, obviously.
You know what else? I've been running so much Kylie Minogue. Just some of her OG tracks are so 9090 and so just absolutely mega, like so underutilized. Can someone just absolutely end me with that one day?
Oh, man, I could probably do you a favor. So you know Kylie Minogue Slow.
Yeah, of course.
So there's like a vinyl version. You can't even find it on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. But there's like a vinyl version. It's like a 12-inch like club version with like a full intro, like super slow. But I bought it. My mate Ollie Francis recommended me get it, and because it's like $2 on Discogs, and the whole vinyl is just Kylie in like some gold like outfit, like super sexy. But then the track finishes like right at her waistline. Like that is just so cool.
I reckon
it goes for like 7 minutes, like an extended cut, and it is so dope.
I'm trying to think about. There's a fair chance that the whole reason that so many people our age are into this sort of music, or the youth are into this sort of music, because of how popular Kylie Minogue is, and we all grew up on those sounds. Like our parents are absolutely bumping Kylie Minogue, and like I wonder if that's sort of like how popular like the 909 kick was during that time in pop music, like had an influence on our listening now, like all the way to now. I definitely think it probably has.
Yeah, like Crystal Waters. Actually, there's what's that other track from Kylie? Love at First Sight. It has like a kind of like garagey rhythm to it, like in that, and they had that sort of like early 2000s like disco resurgence, like with like Jamiroquai and like a bit of Daft Punk as well. But like those were some fucking glory years back then.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Listening in the car with mum to school.
Some shit that ends up playing at pitch at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
This one's for you, mum.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, sometimes I'll be just like playing music out my desk speakers, and I'll be like, I actually don't mind this song. Like in between like all this random electro and stuff, and it's like because it sounds like that like early 2000s, just glory days pop music.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a nice little segue, but going back to pitch on a more serious note again. It seemed like it landed at the perfect time for you. Like you had a couple of releases off the back, like 2 EPs within 3-4 months, and you got a really good slot as well. How did you feel going into it? Did you think that the timing was perfect for it now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good momentum, which is why it's so much funnier that this everything should just stop for like the next foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Such a sweet note to end everything on. But yeah, it's an unreal time. I was really, really hoping I get a daytime slot, and I don't know, like I've been to like that Sunday slot and that stage. Like I've seen that stage before, and I've been at a festival on a Sunday, and I know exactly what you want. Like when you've been up for 2 days, just being an absolute piece of shit, and like you kind of need something to kick yourself in the balls. So like that's kind of what I had in mind, and also I think like the music that I've been listening to lately and what I've been into for my DJ sets is like, I think the aesthetic of that stage just kind of fits with that garagey sort of vibe, and just like a rougher taste. Because I was doing a lot of disco and like upbeat, uplifting sort of stuff, but yeah, I felt like I needed something a bit gnarlier, a bit faster, you know?
Turbo.
That used to be my old nickname at my old work.
What? Explain, tell that story.
Because I was driving trucks there as a removalist, and I managed to, just by chance, this is a manufacturer's fault. Just by chance, I managed to bust the turbos in like 4 or 5 trucks while I was driving them. So I obviously got called Turbo. Yeah.
Nickname Turbo. Turbo Selector at the same time.
Yeah. Turbo Selector.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, but pitch is obviously like a very big staple for Melbourne and Victoria. And so was XE54. And that sort of became, like looking from the distance, it became like a sort of a part of your identity as an artist, I think, in your come up and in your like big nights and that sort of thing. So like what did that venue mean to you, both as an artist and a resident there, but also for the general wider scene in Melbourne?
It allowed me to do like exactly what I wanted there. I had like a lot of really lucky opportunities to play. I felt like I couldn't go as hard at other venues in Melbourne as I could there. I feel like a lot of spaces just didn't really accommodate what I was doing, and I don't know. I just feel like maybe I grew to XE54 sound, or this like XE54 grew to what I was doing. I don't know, but like the feeling that I had like when I was playing a lot of those gigs was like really electric. I felt like there was something different happening in there while I was playing, and I don't know, it was just exciting, I guess. And I think what they were doing in general, just having like a rotating roster of international artists for like, what was it, two and a bit years, nearly 3 years, I think. That hadn't really been done in Melbourne, like to that extent. I think a lounge definitely had like that happening a lot, but XE definitely contributed a lot to that scene. And I don't know, there's kind of like a big gaping hole now.
Yeah.
Not really sure what's going to happen. So it's like that's gone. Hopefully someone picks up the pieces, because otherwise a few of us are going to be very bored.
I think that
and unemployed.
Yeah, exactly. I think that a lot of what's going to happen is sorry, mind blank. A lot of what's going to happen now is all these people, all these creatives are going to be sitting in their bedrooms bored with all these new sort of projects, like just ready to launch once the world returns. And like, I know I've been sitting in my room being like, oh, how can I change the world forever? So I reckon there's so many other people like that, just thinking like, how can we one up everything we've already been doing now that we have some time away to do that? So I think that like, hopefully if there's a silver lining in all this, there's thousands more creative projects out there just, you know, doing cool shit, hopefully. And maybe like someone having a cool idea for a venue is a part of that.
I'd really love that. I think a funny thing, I've spoken to like a few artists at the moment, and because they're and I've had the same feeling because there's no like objective for the music. Like you're just sort of releasing it for the sake of releasing it. You just sort of people aren't really making focused club music. I've noticed like people are just making music that they just want to make. They're just playing around and it seems to be kind of like a freeing experience, I guess, instead of because I was becoming quite objective focused myself, and then being like, oh, I need to make this sort of like late night garagey sort of like two-step vibe for this, and I go into the studio
to play at 2:15 a.m.
Yeah, 2:15. Like, yeah, definitely. This is not a 1:15 vibe whatsoever. But like, I just getting in the studio, and I just sort of be staring at my amazing studio for 8 hours, just like, all right, something's going to come now. Something's going to come. I've got to make that 2:15 banger, and now I get in the studio, and I just stuff around for the sake of stuffing around.
Yeah,
so it's kind of relieving.
Yeah,
in a way.
It's brilliant. There's brilliance in the freedom of just like being able to create whatever you want, especially in like our world where it's so often like hedonistic and like turbo. It's like, where are the drums? Why aren't the drums hard enough? And all that sort of thing. And to sort of remove ourselves and take a break from the event space could foster like some really cool new sounds.
Yeah, like for sure. And I call it the headphone music, you know?
Yeah. One you can wear it on the way to school, on the bus, stuff you can listen to.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I say that, but I swear my listening has gone even more turbo because I crave that music so much more. Like, I just want to hear some like absolute like bang electro, and like because I never used to listen to that sort of stuff before clubs closed. Right, like I just save all that listening for like inside the club and digging tracks. But now it's like I can't hear it in the club, so I have to hear it in my bedroom. So I'm just sitting in my room, like working on like an article and just big breaks, like wobbly 138 BPM to like electro.
Just skin on skin, just like blaring in the background.
Man, I feel bad. If my brother's listening to this, he's just going to be like shaking his head like, you are the biggest idiot, because that's what he's been facing with. Like, he's got like a normal job and like sitting in the room next to me just hearing. Yeah, shit. Poor bastard. So the lead on question from that is, are we going to get ambient cassettes for kids music?
It's definitely a lot softer from a lot of stuff I mean, look, I'm putting up this live set I'm trying to put together. I'm trying to put together like half an hour. I just put up a video. I'm definitely not doing a stream because the internet in my area is abysmal.
We're holding it really well now, by the way.
Yeah, well, then we're tethering. We're off. This is off a satellite.
Oh, right.
I don't know how that's any better. It makes no sense. It's actually more efficient for me to connect to something 10 kilometers in the sky. Anyway, I've got like half an hour of live stuff that I'm putting together, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it might be okay in a club, but it feels a lot more melancholy and sad boy stuff for some reason. But I mean, I know it's just like melodic, focused, emotional house music.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's at like 136 BPM. I don't know.
I was going to ask you this as well. Like dreams from what you've put out into the world was inspired by an emotion, and you started at an emotion. And it sounds like the music you're talking about making now sort of starts at an emotion rather than like a objective of I want to make a turbo break song or that sort of thing. Is that typical in your creative process, or where does your inspiration start other times?
Yeah, whether I know it or not, I always sort of think of the music I'm making as sort of like timestamps, and I'll sort of go back to it like 6 months later, and I'll be like, oh, I've just disappeared because I've got a low battery warning. I sort of go back to it 6 months later, and then I'll sort of be able to figure out the mindset I was in at the time. So I don't know, maybe when I do naturally make a turbo breaksy acid track, maybe there's like a bit of chaos going on in my head, or maybe when I'm making like happy, uplifting music. Maybe I'm just going through a really good part of my life, whether I know it or not.
Yeah, that's so
But I know
cool.
it sounds like a little bit wanky or like, I don't know it, but I always notice that the lyrics that I end up choosing in the tracks sort of like, if I sample something, like I'll just sort of subconsciously hook onto like a little saying or word, and then I'll look back at it and I'll be like, huh, I guess I was feeling that way, which is kind of weird, but
Yeah.
kind of cool.
I feel like, especially in dance music as well, where it's not like like literal lyrics in order to decipher what a
Mm,
song means. The song title is really important as well, and the song title can be
mm,
so like can lead so much direction into what a song is like, sort of feels like, and can sort of like shift it. So like if I was
yeah,
listening to
for
some of
sure.
your tracks without the song title, I'd interpret them in a completely different way, I think. But with the song
Yeah,
title there,
absolutely.
it sets the mindset of like, this is sort of what I was feeling when I was writing that. So I don't know if that's something you reflect on in the creative process or.
It's kind of like how the cover art will sort of create
Mm,
that imagery in your head of the track. Because I remember it, like when I first made Dreams, it was like I sort of saw the colors in my head, and I saw like reds and yellows and stuff. And then now that the cover art's like, it's like a white background with like a red and like aqua blue hand.
the
Like
hand.
now I see that, which is really
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, that's super cool. Um, that's just, I don't like chopping and chopping around, but this is a really good question. I always wanted to ask you this, and I forgot to ask you it when we first did our first interview.
Yeah,
But
right.
Melbourne, obviously, and like majority of our listeners are Sydney based because the podcast has been so Sydney focused right now. But Melbourne
Mm,
is obviously a place where a lot of creative things happen in the dance world, especially, but generally across art. It's pretty much the art capital of Australia. So how do you think you made your break in such a, saturated and strong, arts culture in Melbourne? Like,
I would say because it is a
yeah,
saturated. It's just it's a melting pot. Like I'm like so lucky to actually be here because there's so many people organizing parties. Like I just randomly became friends with a lot of people who just fell into these industries, and like that's just so lucky. If I was living in like, I don't know, like Perth or something, I wouldn't be blessed with this right now.
mm,
Like it just sort of it fed what I was doing.
yeah. I'm so
So
glad you answered it like that as well, because so many people, I think, and not to shit on Sydney, but I think so many people in Sydney are so competitive where we don't need to be. Like if we all worked together and we weren't like if we were more inclusive in the stuff we did and our cool ideas and projects, then the world would be better for it. So
mm,
there's one thing we're taking away from this. If you're some chin stroker living in Sydney, don't be a chin stroker.
yeah, yeah. I think what he's trying to say is get fucked.
I'm
Go
in
and
my
fuck
family
yourself.
house. I can't swear.
Yeah. Like you
Um,
got your headphones on. Zach's
brother,
swearing. Wasn't me.
promise it wasn't me, mom. I'm waiting for the day, in probably not this episode because I was very strict on the house being like, nobody make any noise from 12 o'clock. But who knows with them nowadays? They might get a bit more hesitant. So that door there, anything could happen.
All right.
Um,
This isn't like some enormous prank where someone's just going to come in with like a Shrek mask and be like, oh, sorry, wrong room. And you're just expecting me not to react.
brother, my next guests are
That's my brother.
about to get the shock of their life because that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to mess with some people. That is brilliant. Back to a more serious note. I love that you're focusing on a live set, and I think obviously DJ sets are beautiful and brilliant, and I'm a big advocate for letting people know how intricate and difficult it is to pull off like a tremendous DJ set. But there's obviously something to a project, and there's something special about a project when you do take it the next step to the live setting. In terms of transitioning from that DJ set to a live setting, how long have you had this idea for, and what do you think the most attractive things for you are in making a live set?
It's been like I did start off with live sets, but that's like a whole another story. It's been about a year and a half. I think I was talking about that in our
Yeah.
last interview. And my disgraceful outing. Anyway,
It's all documented.
Yeah, it's all, oh God. So it's been about a year and a half that I've been thinking about it. I think the real problem that I've been having with it has been that I've seen a lot of very uninspiring live sets. I started off DJing thinking that it was a bit of just like button pushing and a bit of like, you're not really doing anything. And the longer I've been doing it for like 4 years now, I actually find that I'm thinking more about my DJ sets than I would my live sets. I'm actually doing so much more in my DJ sets, at least mentally, than I would be in my live sets. And that's where I'm struggling with my live sets, because I want to be doing more and I want there to be like a real performance aspect of it. But there's like a little bit of a conflict going on there now. So I've sort of like developed ways to like remix my songs on the fly to keep things fresh, and to also create a bit of danger, like programming like acid boxes and programming like the drums, and just like playing with effects and stuff, and like mixing things creatively, like with my own music. Because I think that sort of makes things interesting. But like I've seen a lot of people, and I'm obviously not going to name any names. Kink is obviously the absolute G of it. Because he's like playing keys, like things can just go wrong, and you're just like, man, honestly, if he screws this up, it's going to be so crazy. But he's just like playing keys. He's like playing drum machine, he screws it up, and then he's got a record playing, and like that's just so sick. But then other people that are sort of going into the next one, click the next one, and I'm like, that's so boring. You've got great music, but it's so boring. So it's hard. I've actually already forgotten what the question was, but I'm trying to bridge that gap. I'm trying to bridge that gap of DJ. I'm trying to bring elements of DJing to my live set and creating like dangerous things that I can do just to make it a bit more interesting. Because I think one of the best things about a live set is actually just watching someone work. Like hands down, even if you're not really enjoying the music, you can just be like, what the fuck are they doing? And just hearing or seeing the interaction and like the changes in the sound because of exactly what they're doing.
And I think, and so I got so much to reply to that. When I first learnt like the fundamentals of DJing, and I went to a club after that, and you hear some of the mixes that get pulled off, and hear some of like how like brilliantly people chop and change between songs, and you think of it so differently when you're in that thing where like I don't even need to be dancing to be appreciating what someone's doing. I could just be standing next to them being like, oh my God, like you're a master, but like 4 decks running, just absolute chaos. I'll tell a crazy story of there was a fundraiser, Jensen Interceptor, back-to-back Party Boy 69, and they had like all 4 CDGs running, like absolute chaos. And I'm just looking over the shoulder of the decks being like, if this was me, I'd be so anxious right now because there's just shit everywhere. Like they're queuing songs they're not even playing, just like waiting them out. And then they're like teasing songs coming in. Like they're bringing in a vocal line from one song, then ripping it back, and they never actually play that song. Just like my anxiety was just through the roof. So like there's a certain like appreciation for just watching someone do their thing. And there's like so much brilliance in that. The thing on the live set, and what I've found in my reflection of just DJing for friends or whatever, having options and like being like, I could take this path, or I could take this path. And like, there's so much like, there's so much like energy in that, and there's so much excitement in that. Whereas sometimes the live set can be limiting in that, but it sounds like you're trying to overcome those things, and that's what you're trying to tackle most.
That is the best thing about DJ sets, is that you can just chop and change. If you walk into a room, like I don't think it really happens so much now. Like when I first started DJing, like because I'd be getting like a lot of like the early slots or whatever, and you have all these ideas and you rock up and you're like, there is just no one here. I'm not going to be able to play all this stuff I've lined up overnight. But now like I've got better slots which I can sort of like prep things better for. But the ability to just like react to your crowd and react to that moment in time, and then to be able to just do something that just works for that moment is just awesome. But with a live set, like I didn't realize just how limiting it was. Like you're stuck there. Like you just have to play your shitty music no matter what, whatever
Yeah.
you prepared. Like they've just got to sit there for an hour and just
And cop it.
endure it. Yeah, and cop it, and then you just got to fuck off with your tail between your legs.
Just unplugging your equipment while the next DJ is just loading USBs. Like, oh shit.
I remember because back to when I was doing live sets when I first started, 2016, and I played after Tropical House DJ Thomas Jack, and I had my live set and I was setting it all up, and it got like plugged into the wrong input. So I didn't know anything about mix. So I got plugged into the phono for some reason, and then that was just like it just sounded like. Quickly figured out what was going on, and then I had some people up the front of the set come up and be like, "Do you have anything more commercial?" And I'm like, "Oh crap!" And I'm like 10 minutes in to an hour set, and I'm just playing my crap music, trying to like push it on, like keep dancing, keep driving, keep the energy up, and just people were just leaving in droves, like actual droves. And then finally, the promoter just like taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I'm like, yeah, good man. He's like, yeah. So just talk to the event guys. They're just wondering if you have any more commercial stuff. Otherwise, you're gonna. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, I had 20 minutes to go, and I just went. I'm like, I've probably just went completely white. I just got the DJs next to me. I'm like, just play now. I don't care. Just get on. They just plugged their USBs in, and everyone came back. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Father, just plug the aux in, mate. Just from the bottom.
Yep.
Let's go. What do you want to hear?
Honestly, yeah. Not me, obviously.
You just start playing your originals off your phone. How's this?
Yeah. Like 4 years ago, the music I actually found the live set that I was doing, and it's god awful, so god awful. I played several gigs with that format, and I had to look people in the eye afterwards. Well, they have to look me in the eye, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, I was about to say. Oh, that's so brilliant.
Yeah, dude, good job, man. Like, doing really well.
That classic after set. Oh my god, you killed it! No matter what.
Yeah. No, I killed the vibe. That's what I did.
The amount of times I've gone up to people after they played horrible sets and being like, "Bro, that was sick." No, I'm joking.
Or your mates are like, "That motherfucker."
That cheeky bastard wants an interview.
That. Yeah.
So I have this podcast. I reckon you should come on. Your set was so good. Anyway. You obviously have not the like a great connection to it. And if I didn't ask this question, Arthur and Pepper and stuff would be so on my ass. So obviously Arthur from Finer Things has a big involvement in your project, and you were recently on the James Pepper EP as well. How did you link with the sort of Finer Things extended crew in Sydney?
So I'm just getting my charger because my phone's probably going to die doing this.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. I'm just trying to find a PowerPoint. Where are we? Where? Oh, here. Oh, okay.
Got some guests.
Yeah, my girlfriend's just reading in bed. I'm just going to disturb her. Just look up my nose while I do this. Yeah, so
shout out to everyone listening, being like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, just found it. Thank you. Is that charging? Who knows? Well, if this times out, well, obviously the charger isn't working.
We know why.
So I met Arthur online. We became online friends.
Online buddies.
Online buddies. Yeah, he hit me up to do a release about 2 or 3 years ago. And then we've just been best friends ever since. Back when he was doing Gateway Collective.
Oh wow, that's chronic as.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gateway Collective.
Yeah, don't. He's gonna. The real owner's gonna kill us.
We're gonna get sued.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Finer Things. Shout out to those boys. He said he wanted to sit in. He said he wanted to sit in on this interview, but I said no.
Is he trying to kill you?
Man, he's a scary man.
Social distancing, buddy. Yeah.
No, Zoom sit in. Just just keep an ear out, back on.
Just imagine his head just sitting in the side there, not saying anything.
That's pretty much what he did that last interview. So anyway, we've been going for like close to 40 minutes now. So I'll end on a more sentimental question. Before we ask all the standard questions, but outside of just making good music and creating good times in a club or festival space, what do you aim on achieving with the Cassettes for Kids project?
Just a bit of fun. As I said before, I mean, look, it's honestly just good fun. I want to show you good tracks. I obviously want to play a few tunes that I've made just to see if that's fun. Maybe you might think that's fun. Maybe you don't. That's fine. But it's not meant to be anything serious. Like it's just meant to be good music, basically.
Brilliant.
A good showing, good music with a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of performance, a few like dance moves and twists of my fingers that I don't really need to do. I've actually seen a few videos, and I do like the hot mixer trick, and I don't know why. I do it all the time. I do like like, there is no practical use for that, but every time I play, I'm like, ooh.
Flick of the wrist, mate.
So you get to see that, which is quite revolutionary.
Brilliant.
I think.
2 questions I ask everyone as well at the end of the interview. What are your favorite boiler rooms? It can be like anything, just the best boiler rooms in no particular order, in your opinion.
Motor City Drum Ensemble.
Okay, thank you.
2015. That's huge one. I always rinse this Cyclops acid track that he drops, which is amazing. I use it in my sets just to like absolutely blister people because it's terrifying. The original is actually quite slow, but it's like 116. But if you play it at about 125, 128, it rocks people. Like, it's such a good track. The rest of the set's really good. The other good boiler room set. Oh, blimey. Have you ever seen the Ankle Pants one?
No, Ankle Pants.
Oh, God. I mean, it's definitely not good, but it's quite an experience.
It's brilliant.
It's a guy who has a penis for a nose and a mask, and he does like the animatronics for like, I don't know, some like major movies, but he also makes like some of the worst music you've ever heard.
Oh my God.
It is just the most jarring thing you will ever see.
That is brilliant. I'm going to throw this straight on. I'm looking at Google images of him.
Yeah, maybe delete your history after that.
Please no one walk in.
I'm just waiting for I'm waiting for Ankle Pants just to pop out of your door right now. Just like, do you want a cup of tea?
I'm good. I promise. And finally, and obviously a lot of COVID-19 challenges going around. Tag a mate and tell them to bloody show their least favorite record in their collection. Blah blah blah. You have to nominate people to come on Parry Talks, or who do you think should get this grilling? Who should come on? Who should pull up?
Ooh, Parry Talks. Oh, well, it has to be James. Obviously, I mean, I've already. Was I ragging out of him before? Probably. Yeah, it definitely has to be James. James Pepper.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, he's local.
We got some big ones in the works.
Yeah,
Jimmy Peps. Don't worry. Have no fear.
Good. Oh, he's bloody smashing it right now. That track with that he put up with Black Ops just recently.
Oh my goodness, mate!
On House.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So bloody damn! And that last EP. Mwah.
Yeah, out on Gallery. Shout out Gallery. I've had Angus Russell on here as well. But yeah, Parry Talks, Cassettes for Kids. That flew through. Holy shit, that was brilliant.
Yeah, that was quick.
If you're listening this far, next time Cassettes for Kids has a show in Sydney, which might be like the Melody support or whatever. And if you come up to me and quote this interview, I'll get you 2 drinks. Parry Talks, episode 17, 16, whatever. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me.
No worries.